something to you, and then I just completely forgot.
Oh man, well, ladies and gentlemen, to another movie review. This time, Alita, Battle Angel, here with my man Niger from Big Old Belt Show. How's it going, man?
What's up, dude? How you doing?
Pretty good. So Battle Angel, it comes to us from James Cameron. He wrote and produced this, and it was directed by Robert Rodriguez. And this is one of those movies that was sitting on the back burner from James Cameron for a long damn time. I'm talking like early 2000s, long time. Like I think 2002, 2003, it got announced. And I remember for a while, I don't know if you remember or paid attention around that time, it felt like every year somebody always brought this movie up, and James Cameron kept saying, it's going to happen, it's going to happen, it's going to happen. And, during that time, Titanic was already out, but Avatar was probably one of his next big movies that came out. And then you look at this movie, and I'm not weird to me, and I don't know if it was for you. I'd like to kick it over to you, but when I look at this movie, it felt like this was something that you would see before we got Avatar.
It depends because I guess the big thing with Avatar is because of how it was shot and it becoming like the monumental IMAX movie.
Yeah.
So I get that, but it's like that's been my only movie is that I just feel like based on James Cameron's logic of technology and advancements in his production and use of technology, whatever, that you would see a huge gap between this and Avatar, and it's and not even just this and Avatar, but just this and other movies, period.
Yeah.
And it's not. It's a beautiful movie, but to James Cameron's of the world, everybody, anytime there's anything with him, it's just like it's going to be monumental, groundbreaking. It's going to be totally different. I mean, that's obviously the rumor with Avatar too. Is like the technology's not available. The technology not available. I need time. And anything that he touches always has that type of statement to it. And this movie like a gap from anything.
Yeah. Because for those that don't know, Alita Battle Angel is basically based off the manga. It was created by Yukito Kishiro. And, 4-volume manga. It had an OVA that came out in like the early 90s. If you're old as fuck as we are and stuff, this was one of those animes that popped up on, Sci-Fi Channel and things like that. The OVA wasn't that good, to be honest. It didn't really hit the highs of the manga and stuff. It was just kind of much like the time and stuff. Whenever they put these kind of animes based off of a manga and stuff like that, it wasn't necessarily hitting those highs unless you had something like Ghost in the Shell and even Akira to an extent. So you get this film, and the one thing that I will give the movie more than anything, I put it on the lines of a speed racer, where it feels as though the people behind it, Cameron, Rodriguez, and all of them, and even I think John Landau, because he's really been like the mouthpiece for this movie more than anything. Really just overselling the movie, and I don't blame him at all. And I give it the fact that they nailed the visual effects like perfect. It's straight up like the manga, through with that world. The action sequences are nice. I think Rosa Salazar, she's definitely going to be somebody that kind of like a homegirl that was in Bumblebee and Spider-Gwen. What's her face? I forgot her name.
In terms
of actresses and stuff, Rosa Salazar might be somebody that might be on the up and coming to kind of watch out for in certain things and stuff. Because I know she was in
Bird Box.
Here's what's weird about her. I know she's in Bird Box. She was in Bird Box. What was crazy about her was that she was in the Divergent movies and the Maze Runner movies.
I knew she was in Maze Runner. I didn't know she was in Oh, wasn't it? Yeah, you're right.
She was in the last Divergent movie. I think it was Insurgent. Yeah, that one.
Yeah.
And I don't know. It's just weird to me that like when she's in those movies, she does semi stand out because I remember her. She was in Chips. That was the movie she was in. She stood out a bit in Chips as well. Mm-hmm. But yeah, Maze Runner was the one that she really stood out as well in those movies. And I always thought she was actually a pretty decent actress. Bird Box, gotta admit, didn't really do her much favors and stuff, but it is what it is. But I think she's one that should probably start kicking over into good projects and stuff because I think she did a really fantastic job, playing Alita in this movie and stuff. And I think one of the biggest things about seeing the character was those anime eyes because I thought for a second that was going to be the annoying aspect of it, but then when you watch the movie, it's like, oh, okay, it's not like distracting, like I thought it was and stuff. And the whole crux of the movie is basically it follows it's like a better version of what the OVA, the anime OVA in the '93 was trying to do, but this movie does it better. It still has the problems that most young adult movies do, where they end the movie with like sequel bait, basically, and I don't hate it because I watch enough anime to where it doesn't bother me, but I know that might be something that folks might come off of it like, come on, why? Like I said, for what the story they do show, it works. I guess for you, what was your expectations and thoughts, on the movie?
Yeah, I got a lot, to be honest. I really do got a lot. First of all, I was super hyped to see it. It was absolutely the movie of the year that I wanted to see outside of Dragon Ball, which technically doesn't count for 2019, but this was the movie that I wanted to see. And I got a tease of it in New York Comic Con, and I was thoroughly impressed by the visuals. And the visuals held well. You want to see this movie in IMAX 3D. And if you can, you want to see it in Adobe Theater because the sound is on point.
It was awesome.
They did a really good job about that. Little backstory too. Robert Rodriguez obviously got this script from James Cameron, and anybody that knows James Cameron is just obsessive about everything he does. So what ended up happening is that Robert Rodriguez was given like a 900-page script. And was like, okay, here. And Robert Rodriguez and was tasked in getting that shortened. So he got it to 100 pages or so, which is, that's hard. So I will say that they did a really good job in nailing, the aspects of creating a movie. The visuals was there. I thought the story was good. I do mimic you with it does follow traditional live action anime adaptations, leaving you that open ended, like possibly for a sequel, but if not a sequel, I think we're cool type of thing. Mm-hmm. So that Jitly had to just explain what this movie did for me. Mm-hmm. It did for me which I was telling everybody as soon as I left out the movie. I said this felt like a Final Fantasy movie, and what I meant by that was that it gave you the story, the backstory, and now you're like, oh, that was hella cool. Now I need to go play the game. It gave you all of it.
I didn't think about it like that.
It gave you very good character development. I thought that Rosa Salazar and Johnson, who plays Hugo, I thought Alita and Hugo chemistry was flawless. If you've seen interviews of them together, they mesh really good in person. It very much translated into the screen really good. So good point. But I mean, it just felt like a Final Fantasy movie because it's just like it gave you everything that you wanted to know about why did you get to the game. So now it's just like, oh, I got the backstory now. Now I need to go play the game. And if you see this movie, you will understand exactly what I'm trying to say. And you probably will feel somewhere on the same lines of it. And it's not like, if you ever seen a Final Fantasy movie, it's not like, damn, that's it. It's one of those like, okay, that's cool.
Yeah.
So, because you're not getting a Final Fantasy movie sequel. You just get that and then you go to the game. Yeah. So, if that was what was going to happen here, you would be satisfied in that note. But, considering that it is a movie, now like, okay, what next? And I think, everything this obviously is driven off of what type of money they make. And I hate to say it, but like this could be the blockbuster that flips, the first blockbuster to flip this year. Not because it's not deserving, but
I mean, it's a situation because for those that don't know, it was supposed to come out during that crowded December month, and I think it definitely would have been fucked. So,
yeah.
So the thing of it is, they made the smart move by moving it to February. I think it's a smart move. Granted, it's going to go up against Happy Death Day 2 and all that stuff. So, I mean, at the end of the day, this looks like one of those movies that they're definitely banking on getting their money from China and Japanese market. Which, I mean, hey, it is what it is. Like I said, that's why I sit there and compare it to Speed Racer and that they're... Because, I mean, if we're going to be frank, Japanese adaptations in Hollywood does not have much of a good history. Other than you got your things like, you know, Guyver Dark Hero, which was kind of something that went straight to DVD from New Line, which was actually pretty good. You Speed Racers, I even put Alita in that category, and I even put Edge of Tomorrow, because they Japanese manga as well. Those are movies that, like, they worked. They were based off their property, but I think... And I mean, I don't like saying it because I know anime to me right now in America, despite the mainstreamness of certain stuff, it's still a niche thing in America.
Yeah.
Like, if you're not a Miyazaki movie, which is still revered in America, it's still a niche market.
Correct. Yep. You're absolutely right.
And the thing of it is, like Speed Racer, right?
It's so funny you keep bringing up Speed Racer,
because
and I watched it recently too.
Yeah, and I bring it up because I remember when that movie came out. Like a lot of people, I would probably say know about Speed Racer. I mean, your parents probably know it more than anything else, you know, because that's that era it came out like in the 70s and stuff. So like that's a thing that came out, and it's like when you watch that movie, I remember people's reaction to it was like, "That's Speed Racer." And it's like, yeah, that's Speed Racer in a nutshell. I mean, the racing scenes aside and stuff, that's the core of the family and all that stuff. And I think it throws people off because they have the expectations of what an anime is and stuff. And then even going so far like the Ghost in the Shell movie that came out, which I didn't like, it just felt like Ghost in the Shell. Like Hollywood was like, all right, let's just throw the greatest hits of what people know about Ghost in the Shell, but it didn't really feel like a movie. So if you circle back around to Battle Alita, it felt like there's a story that they were telling.
Yeah.
Like you were invested in the story. Despite how it ends, you were still invested in the story. You know, like I said, the movie itself, like I said, another negative for it would probably be the pacing to an extent. At least that was just for me. I don't know about for you.
Oh, it was a long movie, and I don't say it was drifting, but I did have an issue.
2-hour movie, man.
Yeah, I had an issue with I did have an issue with the continuity of the tone. Like
in what aspect?
Got so much action, and then you got drama, and then it just was like, you know, I'm not going to say it was like an emotional roller coaster, but it felt like the roller coaster derailed a few times, and then you got back on like, oh, I forgot I was on the roller coaster.
Trying to get you on the emotional roller coaster, and then all of a sudden it's like, okay, why did you divert? Why did you divert off left all of a sudden? It's
exactly, like, exactly. Like there's vividly remember, obviously for a spoiler discussion, but it definitely also too back to the Final Fantasy aspect of this.
Yeah.
This movie is remotely like a Final Fantasy movie because it does something that Final Fantasy does all the time. Anybody play Final Fantasy, there is one main story, and then there's some other aspect of something you can do on the side just to entertain yourself.
It's a lot of world building.
Yeah.
It's a lot of world building. One of the things that the OVA didn't do, and this ties into them wanting to adopt the manga legit. I think the later volumes, I think the third and fourth volume, they had a sport with motorball, and I think that's probably where you're getting at.
Exactly.
The motorball is shockingly enough, it is an aspect of the manga that does define Alita.
Yeah.
But you could tell in this movie too, because this was something that she genuinely enjoyed because of her connection with Hugo, because Hugo's the one that shows her how to play motorball. and that kind of develops her and drives her to her overall narrative in the movie and stuff.
Yeah, it's like I said, Final Fantasy. It's like Blitzball on Final Fantasy X. Like it was that same thing. It was like, oh, this is cool. I like what they're doing. Not totally part of the storyline, but you see how they worked it in, and that was cool. And the effects of it was bananas.
Oh yeah, the whole thing is just like crazy. And like I said, they keep you invested in this world because you're like, okay, I want to know what happens outside this world. Okay, we'll give you a scene of what the outside world looks like. Oh, hey, what happened before all this? Oh, we'll give you some flashbacks. Oh, hey, how does it work? Okay, cool. How does the doctor do his thing? Cool. How does it, like the whole world, like, you know, we could segue into Christoph Waltz. He does a really good job as Dr. Ito.
Ito, yep. Mm-hmm.
And he's the driving point to show that in this world, that if you really want to make money, you can become a bounty hunter.
Yeah.
You know, and it's and when you see, and again, the movie does a pretty good job of explaining that system and how it works and things like that, and just show again with the bounty system and how there's a lot of bounty hunters and just the way everything is set up. It's like, okay, cool. Like I said, Dr. Ito, her and Alita, they have a good connection. Very much a, you know, father-daughter thing, which they do tie in regards to Ito's background and also Dr. Chiron as well, because their little relationship, so to speak. Jennifer Connelly, who I haven't seen in a long-ass time. Harley, you put him in the movie, he's gonna do good, and he does pretty good in this movie. I don't really have much complaints. It's I mean, especially if you watch True Detective this season and stuff. I mean,
like I said in the movies, Mahershala Ali is not turning down no money, and whatever role he in, he got his whole foot in it. So
yeah, you know. I mean, you see him in it, it's like, oh, he's serious, and like because okay, so you know the way his character plays, he's the guy that kind of rigs the motorball. So the overarching, you're thinking he's the bad guy. The overarching bad guy is this scientist named Nova. And Nova, he has the ability to control people from where he's at and stuff. So and again, this shows the range of Mahershala Ali. Like, he goes smooth character, and then when he switches over to basically quote unquote being Nova, it's so seamless, and it's like you buy it straight up.
Yes,
you know, and it's like, all right, cool, this works, and again, credit to his acting, he sells it. Yeah,
absolutely. You made a couple of more thoughts that's come in my head too. It was something else you just said that really. Oh, I know what I was gonna say. Yeah, when you start talking about Dr. Ito's position in the movie, the one thing I will say about this movie is that the overall theme that you're able to take away from this movie can be totally your own interpretation. There's so many little things that's working in this movie that can be your inspiration, or that can just be your your interpretation of what you're seeing. Yeah. Because it's funny you bring up the Dr. Ito story about him being a dad to Alita and how that came about. Where also I looked at Alita as most of the market is trying to direct you towards, is the Alita being the insignificant woman or girl that was forgotten about. But you watch the movie, you kind of almost forget that at a point, because she's so like dominant in everything she does. She's the staple of every situation she's in. She's the token person. So it's kind of, like I said, it's kind of like your own interpretation of what you want to get out of this, and I think that's perfectly fine and safe for a movie to do. It is in certain aspects, but I think it's perfectly fine for this movie.
Yeah, I mean that's the big takeaway. It's like that's probably why, like, when I started this off, like, it felt like this is the type of movie that you would have gotten before Avatar came out, because it's using the same technology, so to speak. So I know the way that they angled it, they were trying to angle it as though this was kind of like the next step past Avatar in terms of how they were the characters and stuff. Because I gotta be like, there were certain people that, like, until I saw the credits, I didn't know that they are. Like, Jackie Earle Haley is the fucking big ass fucking cyborg that Alita has to fight in the movie.
Yeah, I knew that. I didn't know that Michelle Rodriguez was the other cyborg that they fought. I didn't know.
Yeah.
So
and Casper Van Dien, he popped up in there in the movie,
yep,
and stuff. Here's the other shocker. Edward Norton was Nova.
Huh?
Yep.
I
When you see the Nova character, it's like that's Edward Norton. Like, yeah, that's him. And that's the character that's just in the shadows and in flashbacks. And you're like, that was him? And the credits, dead serious.
Wow, I didn't know that. Also, I want to say that, and I always get his name wrong, and help me out here, but the guy who was the in Bumblebee, the boy that was alongside of the actress.
Was it I think was it Marco?
No. He was in Bumblebee. I can't think of the black guy with the bush. How do we?
No, because I'm right there on it. What's his name?
It's let me look it up. Is it okay? Is it George or is it? Okay, I'm not sure how he pronounces his name, but Lindelberg Jr.
Ricardo Hoyos.
Say it again.
Ricardo Hoyos.
Is that how you go? I had no clue. Really had no clue. First time.
No. Wrong guy.
No. He plays Mimo in Bumblebee. He was the black guy with the bush. He was the nerdy guy in Bumblebee that was alongside of the main actress in Bumblebee, which I'm about to just look up her name because I'm tired of just saying that. Yeah, Haley Steinfeld. I'm so tripping.
Yeah, Lindelberg.
Yeah,
that's his name. Yeah.
Talk about a coming out party for him in the last few months. You see two different dynamics of an actor within him. I was impressed in both movies, I will say.
Oh yeah. He's been, like I said, he's another one that's been kind of like, all right, cool, because he's another one that he was in Spider-Man: Homecoming. Again, he was one of the students and stuff, and yeah, damn, I knew his name, but yeah, it's. I'm hearing things that this movie, be a bomb, a flop, but it might make it up overseas. Who knows? We'll see what happens. But
yeah, I think that's a very interesting aspect there. I didn't even consider what overseas may do, and it will change it. And I hope it is the care package that this movie needs. Truly.
Because look, I'm never one because I think this is one of those. Because like I said, I think for a long time, it's just like, yo, can we get an anime movie that's just across the board critical hit?
Yeah.
And it's like, I think people are going to look at this as, oh, Hollywood can't do anime. And it's like, no, Hollywood can do anime. It's just, it's one of those things where it's just like, you need something to break through. And like, going back to Speed Racer, that didn't necessarily light the world on fire and stuff. I think it broke even, if I remember correctly, it broke even in the box office and stuff. Like I said, you got Alita. Nobody fucking messed with Dragon Ball Evolution. Fuck that movie. Ghost in the Shell was one of those things that it was just mired in controversy because of the casting, and the movie really wasn't good. Visuals fine, but it's just the movie overall just wasn't good to justify. Like, you can say, okay, the visuals good, the story was good enough to where you're like, all right, I'm invested in stuff, despite the the jerking nature of the emotional roller coaster aspect of it and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But you can at least say, okay, it was a fine story. It wasn't nothing that's gonna set the world on fire or anything, but it was fine. Yeah. So it's like, it's hard for me to really pinpoint what's gonna be, because they're talking about they're doing a Cowboy Bebop movie, and I'm like, all right, whatever. They want to do a Robotech movie, cool, I guess. I don't know what it's going to do, because I just, like I said, at this moment in terms of anime movies, most people respect the Miyazaki movies and stuff, and Akira and Ghost in the Shell, the old OG anime stuff. And it's like, can they do a live action Akira? I don't know. They do Robotech? I don't know. It's hard for me to really lock down what needs to be done. I mean, I think, like I said, this Alita and Speed Racer are definitions of, if you just got to get people that have the knowledge of the material and heart to kind of push the material out there instead of just doing a paint by numbers thing. So it's a step in the right direction, but it's like, I don't know what it's going to take to get the anime out of that niche in terms of action productions and stuff that's going to make people want to do. Because, I mean, look, everybody came out for Dragon Ball, Broly movie and stuff, because Dragon Ball is a huge property. It made its money opening weekend, like, big time. But it's just in terms of the live action stuff, I don't know what needs to be done to kind of get, unless it's like a mainstream anime. So, I don't know.
Yeah, I think you definitely have a good vision of the overall picture here, because that's where you're gonna have people that's gonna be scared and reserved. I mean, look, James Cameron's the name; it has the name into it. You have up and coming actors and actresses, or familiar faces that you haven't seen, or voices that you haven't heard in a while. It has no competition. And James, and even if you don't know who James Cameron is, right on the poster it says from the producers of Avatar and Titanic, 2 movies that made a shit ton of money, number 1 and number 2 if I'm not mistaken, time grossing movie list. So what's the issue here? You want to see a good action movie with great effects and so not a heavy plot, but enough of a plot that you say, okay, cool. I don't know where this movie comes from. I don't know who, whatever. I don't know what Alita is. Okay, cool. It's all fine. It gets addressed. But, if you just need something to walk into and have fun, I think this does it. I think there's no buy here. This is easily just see it in the right format. I definitely think what it looks like.
IMAX is the best. The IMAX is bar none like the best thing, because like I said, when you see the visuals pop for the action scenes, that's where it really shines easily.
Yeah, I don't even want regular, and I would strongly advise don't just spend the extra money or do matinee, whatever it has to be. But the visuals, the score, it sounds savvy. You want to make sure you treat yourself to good sounding theater as well, and enjoy it. Go see it for sure. I'm very happy of what this movie did for me. I would have seen it today again if I didn't have other obligations, but it's a go see for sure.
Oh yeah, I mean, and I think if you come away from this movie, I mean, if you can track down the manga, definitely read the manga to get kind of a further kind of background on certain characters and stuff. Because I think the manga is actually, this is like early 2000s. I actually did somewhere around 2001, 2002. I actually did read the manga of this, and it was actually pretty good. So just watching the movie and having that knowledge of it and stuff, I was satisfied with what the movie was doing and stuff. So yeah, you can say that they could have did more, and they could have maybe tied up the ending in kind of a neat bow, so to speak. But I mean, I watched enough anime to where it's like the ending hit one aspect of an arc. And like I said, they did the young adult thing where it's like, hey, set up for a sequel that may or may not happen. Who knows? I mean, like I said, Pacific Rim apparently is getting another sequel on Netflix that's going to be animated, which I think that's the route for that series, to be honest with you and stuff. Because I'd like to think, especially after the second movie went like full anime with it and stuff. So it's like, well, of course, So I mean, if they continue it, it wouldn't surprise me if they went back to animated form to continue the story.
Yeah, who knows what the future brings. It's definitely going to be very dependent on the money it makes. So I would strongly suggest to go see it. Also, another thing that we didn't bring up about the technology that was done to capture Alita in the mocap technology that we've seen in the past with movies like Planet of the Apes. Once again, it's always impressive when this style of recording and being able to capture her face and all her emotions in a digital way. They really did a good job in this. It's maybe something somebody would just quickly overlook. But when you look at the making of how the movie was done, you'll get a great appreciation of the skill and the technique that was being used to get this done.
Oh yeah, definitely. When I was talking about it and stuff, I gave the movie a 7, so I stick with the 7. It's fine. I think that's where I'm sitting at right now.
I am going to be biased here because I really appreciate everything that I've gained with seeing this movie. And you made a really good point about what's his name, John Landau pouring his heart out and selling this. He convinced me.
Oh man,
he put the groundwork in. He got me fully well invested. he's been adamant at every press panel he could be at, or every opportunity.
Look, folks, when I say adamant, Niger is not adamant is an understatement. This dude, like, and you know what? It feels, and that's the thing. It feels so genuine too.
Oh, for sure.
It feels so genuine because it's like, he really is just like, oh my god, like, guys, this movie is great. Mm-hmm. And I mean, granted, this is the same dude that's helped being producer with James years and stuff. Mm-hmm. So it's like, and let it be known too, this isn't John Landau's first rodeo when it comes to like ambitious productions, because this is a man that was a part of Honey, I Shrunk the Kids,
sure,
Dick Tracy, Titanic, Solaris, Avatar. You got this, and it's like, to be honest with you, Dick Tracy was like a movie that he was a part of that was very ambitious, much like Alita. Like, they were really going out their way to like try to like nail every aesthetic across the board, and he did it, and stuff. So like I said, I give him credit, man. He, like I said, San Diego last year and stuff, he was like, "Yo, Alita, it's great," and I'm like, "Hey, dude, cool."
Yeah, he at New York Con, he had he had a video package of him narrating clips of the movie they were showing.
Oh, he did the same thing in San Diego too.
What was funny was that then he'll be right there in the theater doing it again. So I'm like, what the hell is going here, too? So also too. Quick shout out to Rosa Salazar from the DMV area. Let it be well noted that she is from this area. So it's good to see more talent doing her thing from out of this area. And I think she did a good job as well. So the future, this movie, again, my rating is going to be an 8. And I think it's definitely a go see in theaters, because half of you guys barely even got HD TVs. Don't
disrespect yourself.
Don't short yourself about how good a movie is trying to watch it on Kodi on your regular 720p TV. Go see it for what it is. And again, there's no competition right now. It comes out on the 15th? Isn't that Valentine's Day weekend?
Yeah.
I think it's a safe movie to go see with a significant other, because it got good action. And again, you guys' interpretation for what you want to get out of this movie is fair. Everyone, I believe, has a game. It's a fair game to be able to understand your interpretation of what this movie is and what it does for you. It's a lot of different tones in it, and I think it's perfect.
Oh yeah, definitely. So, with that in mind, we will catch you guys later. Peace out.
Phoebe.